Bus now. No, might not be any guide.
So now they've written...
Right, there's nothing unusual about these two athletes. They could be any two runners training for a 400-metre race. But a closer look reveals the extraordinary truth. One of them is totally blind. Graham Salmon not only holds the world blind record for 400 metres, he also leaves sighted runners standing with his world-beating time of 11.4 seconds for the 100-metre sprint. Just 1.5 seconds outside the conventional record set by Calvin Smith of America last weekend.
I'd always had an ambition. There was a record in the Guinness Book of Records which was 100 yards in 11 seconds. And that was later beaten, or it was replaced by 100 metres in 11.5.
Was that by a blind or a sighted person?
Blind person. And ever since I heard about it, I was about 12 years old and I heard about the record. And I always always had an ambition to beat that. And once I started training and I found I could sprint fairly well, I thought, you know, keep plugging away until I get it.
What sort of problems do you have when you're running the 400 metres? Because you're tagged on to Roger. It's difficult for a sighted person to imagine.
Yeah, he's tagged on to me, actually.
That's the spirit.
The problems basically is getting round the bend. Although I've got Roger there, if I run too much towards the inside of the bend, the rope's going to go taut and he can't afford to let me go out of my lane. And if I run too far wide, it's even more disastrous because I'll bump into Roger. And, well, I think if you ask Steve Ovett what it's like to be bumped about in a 1,500 metres, you know, in a 400 it's even worse because you're sprinting flat out, you take a bump and it just knocks everything out of you.
The key to visually handicapped racing is the unique partnership between sighted and unsighted runners. Standard formation is 4 pairs to a race, and each duo must learn to run efficiently in tandem without hindering the others. Strict rules insist that the sighted runner never overtakes his man, and the dividend for top exponents like these two is the right to compete in open meetings.
I think as long as it's seen to, you know, to be fair, and the guide's either beside or slightly behind for the best part of the race, especially at the finish when it's close, you know. It must be very tempting for a guide to seeing somebody coming up, you know, to try and pull you across the finish because nobody likes losing. I've run with people who's actually got faster times than Roger, but they haven't guided as well because they're not used to it. He's got a good style anyway, which, you know, I mean, he feels pretty easy on the end of the rope. I mean, most of the time I don't know he's there, and the only time I know he's there is when he tells me to go faster.
Graham's so serious about competitive sport that he almost writes his blindness off as an irritation. You do the high jump, which is fantastically difficult. Aren't you afraid when you're doing it?
Sometimes. I don't get... If I get scared at the start, then I don't jump, I'll walk into the bar and walk back. And it's only what I try to do is to walk from the bar back to the start of my run-up and then form a mental picture of the 2 uprights, the high jump bed and the track in front of me and the angle at which I'm running and the curve that I've got to run, so that I've got in my mind a real picture of where everything is. And as long as I don't lose that picture, so when I start running, I'm actually, you know, I can see in my mind I can see myself running around this picture. As long as I don't lose that, I'm okay. If I lose it, then I'll chicken out. But people who can see, they do the same thing, you know, they jump towards the bar. And the sort of mistakes that I make in high jumping are the same that anybody who could see would make. It's a lovely feeling when you actually get over it, though.
Most remarkable man, Graham Salmon there. And we'll be at the championships on Saturday, so watch Monday's breakfast time to see how...